In this video, I'm going to show you how to fix a hole in your fiberglass. The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to sand the area. That applies to the front and back side of the piece you're working on. I'm going to go ahead and use a 36 grit on an air tool. So you need to sand all the way through the paint, through whatever body filler might be there, and then through any gel coat that might be on the part as well. You can tell here that that's the raw fiberglass, so I need to get that raw all the way around the part that I'm going to put new glass on. Clean, where you're going to apply the fiberglass both front and back with acetone or lacquer thinner. The next step is you need to put tape behind the part so that there's something for it to back. I'm going to use this ducting tape I have laying around, but you can use masking tape or whatever you got. Before you actually mix your resin, make sure you pre-cut all the fiberglass parts. I have two of the exact same size of the hole. I have one that's slightly larger, and then the final piece. Another tip about that final piece is if you pull on the very edges of that final piece, you kind of make it feathered like that. When you go to put it on the car, it's not going to have this hard fiberglass edge, and you won't have to sand as much. Make sure you weigh your resin and your hardener. I see a ton of people skip this step, and you will definitely regret it. You need to add 1.5 to 2% of the total weight of your fiberglass resin of hardener. So we have 250 grams here, so in order to get 2%, I need to add 5 grams. Mix, mix, mix. When you think you're done mixing, stop, mix again. If you have any of this resin that isn't mixed, you're going to have some tacky areas that don't stick well, and you're going to have some hard areas, and it's never going to fully cure. Get yourself a nice cheap brush from Harbor Freight, and go ahead and put some of that resin on the part, dab it on before you put your first piece of fiberglass. After you put your part on, dab on the resin. Do not brush the resin, that does nothing. You need to actually get it pushed into the part. Once that first piece is fully saturated, see the difference, bright white, darker, it's time to put on that next piece. Each piece we put on is slightly bigger than the last. If you have a fiberglass roller, go ahead and use it. Try not to put too much pressure where your tape is, otherwise you might push the tape off the back. This will get rid of any pesky air bubbles that are sitting behind your glass and make it a stronger piece. If you feel your fiberglass resin getting warm, it's about ready to set, so you better hurry up and finish what you're doing. This is called an exothermic reaction, so it puts off a bunch of heat, and that's why it reacts so fast when it starts hitting. The more that you have in one place, the faster it'll cure. This is rock hard, but on the side here, it's actually still wet. Now that it's fully cured, we can go ahead and peel that tape off the back. If you're mostly doing a cosmetic piece, this is totally fine. You go ahead and sand this down. But if you're doing a structural part of the body, I would go ahead and glass the very back of it. Ever buy a sports car only to find that someone had drilled a bunch of holes to put a stupid spoiler on the back? In this video, I'm going to show you how to fix it. This car is fiberglass, so fixing this is actually relatively easy. Step number 1 is clean. I'm going to clean the back of this with acetone. Clean the whole thing really well. Step number 2 is tape. I have some ducting tape laying around, so I'm going to use that. But you can go ahead and use whatever tape you got laying around. Masking tape will work just fine. The tape behind all the holes. Putting the tape on the underside of the panel is going to allow us, when we put our putty, to hold everything in place and not let it fall through. Next thing you're going to do is go down to Walmart and get yourself some of this Bondo glass and a little package of plastic spreaders. I've heard this stuff be referred to as kitty hair, a bunch of different names, because it has actual fiberglass strands in the putty itself. You won't need a ton of it, and you won't need a ton of hardener either. Go ahead and put yourself a little bit of hardener in there. Spread it around till it's thoroughly mixed. Okay, now it's time to fill them holes, boy. Make sure when you're putting in the holes, you're applying some pressure, but not too much pressure as to push the tape off the back. Now you want to leave a little bit of excess on there. Not so much that you have to sand a ton, but enough so that it dimples a little out of the top. Just like that. Scrape as much as the excess off before it dries, that way your sanding is a lot easier. After it's fully dried, it's time to remove the tape. Now that the tape is removed from both sides, we need to properly reinforce it underneath. This is not a plug for Bondo, I swear, but at Walmart you can also get yourself some Bondo fiberglass resin. And they also sell little fiberglass packets like this one. I don't think this came from there, but they look just like this and they're pretty cheap. Pre-cut the strip to fit all of your holes in one go, and go ahead and grab a little chop brush. And the first thing you're going to do is you get your fiberglass resin and you're going to dab, just like this, dab, 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 on the very bottom of this. And then once it's all dabbed on, you're going to put your fiberglass on the bottom. Obviously I can't really record it from this angle,
Mixy, mixy, mixy.
Now all of your holes are filled from the top and reinforced on the bottom. The next step is we need to sand this down. I recommend using like 80 to 120 grit, and DAs are always helpful, but you can always do this by hand as well. The final step is use a little body filler. FYI, that's way too much hardener, but really all you need is a small amount of glazing putty or some body filler, whatever you can find. They sell some stuff at Walmart, and you just need to mix it so that it's all one consistent color. You should see all those little voids get filled in with the body filler. Final step of the whole process is time to hit it with 220. I know it looks ugly, but it is baby smooth. The last thing you need to do before you can paint everything is go ahead and prime it. Base coat, clear coat, plenty of my other videos show that. And then ta-da, you have a brand new looking fiberglass part. Pretty much all the way on there. All of our chops done. Yeah. We just slice and dice this poor baby all to pieces. Obviously, we still have to paint it, but man, look at those body lines. I also have a new roof coming. In the next couple videos, we have a few things left to do. Mainly fix this giant issue here. But I have a friend who's going to hook it up, and yeah, we're going to finish this thing, paint prep it, cut the hole for our exhaust. Guarantee you guys are going to love it.